This takes a second. Let's see. Okay. Looks like it's going. Yay, we have 5 people watching. Hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Let us know how you're doing in the comments and what you thought of our pick this month, all that good stuff. I know a lot of us, I feel like a lot of us were rereading this book. So let me know if you were rereading this as well. Lisa and I haven't even talked about this at all yet. Usually we talk about this like a little bit before we go live, but we were talking about other things. So we haven't had a chance to talk about this. But
I already saw your review, so I already know what you gave. Plus, this is a reread for you.
It's a reread.
I already knew this was your favorite.
Well, and did you probably knew that this is like one of Samantha's favorite books.
You know what? It sounds familiar now that like this might be one of like a favorite of Samantha's. She also likes that other one. That's the start of the other series. What's the other series that's connected to this? Like something like something Sunrise. Something
is it like Hathaway's? The Hathaway series?
Yes. She loves the first book in that series too.
Mine Till Midnight.
Tam?
Mine Till Midnight. Yeah.
Yes. I know she loves the blue covers of Lisa.
Yes.
Yes. I was like, okay, blue. That's what she likes. But yes.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a reread for me. I read it for the first time in like 2021, and then I finished my reread late last night. And so it's interesting how much like mindset can affect your enjoyment of a book, because the first time that I read it, I loved it, but there was so much going on with my life at the time that I don't think I was able to connect to the story as much as I did this time around. Because like the first time I was invested and I loved it and all that stuff, but like this time around, like when I tell you I was crying last night, I'm like sitting there bawling my eyes out like a little baby. Like I was just like so invested upon a reread. So I think, I don't know, it's interesting how much like mindset can affect your enjoyment sometimes.
So your first time reading it wasn't as impactful as the second time reading it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, I gave it 5 stars that time too. I was also at the time doing a vlog where I was reading Samantha's favorite books. Yeah. Because she made a video a couple years ago about like her top 5 favorite books of all time. And this was her top favorite book at the time. Yeah. And I had read like her other 4 favorites as well. So it's interesting to go back and watch that vlog. But yeah, like this time around, I also have had an emotional week. So I think I was already there. And then like reading this, like, man, this book is such a gut punch. I was just gone. I was like crying so much, like towards the end, especially. So yeah. Ooh, let's see the comments. Okay. Justin, oh, your first time reading this. Okay. Yes, it's a favorite of mine as well. Definitely, I would say in my top 5 favorite historical romances ever. For sure. This was a reread for me, and it was just as good this time. Yep. Yeah. But I didn't have time to reread. Well, give yourself the time to reread. It's worth a reread.
That's me.
I would give it 4 stars. Cool. Lisa, I mean, give us your, I don't know, like overall review.
Well, I mean, like what you just said, where it's like, it's crazy how it's all about your mindset, your time and place when you read a book, and it can so like impact how you feel about a certain book. Like if you were to reread it at a time where your life was kind of like, I don't know, I guess like messy, not that great, you're not feeling good, you're in a slump or something like that, your rating could be really low for the book because you're just not in the mood. But like for me, I don't know what was up. I think it was just this book just felt slow. Like it felt like Secrets of a Summer Night. is it called Secrets of a Summer Night, like the first Wallflowers book? Yeah, Secrets of a Summer Night. It felt like it was like the same pacing. It felt kind of off in a way. Like it started off in a way that I didn't expect it to start off. And then something happened to our heroine. She got into like this accident where, you know, the fire kind of like scarred and burned her and injured her. And I was kind of taken aback because I thought at one point she died. But then I was like, no, she's not dead. She's back and alive. Anyways, so overall, the book, I just felt like it was hard for me to connect with the characters because I felt like our hero just didn't hate her enough to like cause the revenge that he wanted. I think he was just kind of always present in her life after like the 12 years that they were separated. And then they kind of like met each other again, and he was just kind of always in the picture. He's always jealous of all the guys that were in her life. I don't know. So yeah, overall 3 out of 5 stars. It's not my favorite of the Wallflower series.
What I want to ask you, because you recently read the Wallflower series, and I haven't read those books. It's been like 2 years at this point, I think. How do you think like reading those books may have affected like how you felt about this story, or did it affect it at all? Like,
yeah, that's a good question. I think it's the way how this novel starts. For historical romances, it's very important for how it starts for me, because if it doesn't start off good, and it doesn't start off the way that I want it to, or it doesn't start the way that I expect, it can really like just drag the story for me. So with the Wallflowers, like Devil in Winter and it happened one autumn, and even Scandal in Spring, they all started very differently, but like they all had their unique factor in it that made me like completely gripped into the story right from the start. But then for this one, I felt like I do like the story of like him being just like a stable boy and it's like forbidden love. But then like the evil Earl had to like kind of step in there and cause this ruckus in the very beginning that forced her to abruptly, you know, turn him away. And I was just like, this is so nonsense. But then I also get it. But then I'm also like, okay. And then a 12 years jump happened. So I think that the start of the book just kind of threw me off a bit. And like, it was just our heroine just really being worried a lot about showing herself and like being open with him that she's completely different now. She's not the same person as she was, like physically and like even emotionally and mentally. So I don't know. It just lulled a bit there. So yeah. What about you?
And when I was rereading this too, I was also like kind of trying to read it kind of through your eyes almost, because there are definitely points, especially with Aline and McKenna's romance. Gideon and Livia's romance is a totally different thing, but like with Aline and McKenna, it could feel like towards the middle of the book, it's just kind of a lot of back and forth, and like they're not communicating. You know, and it's just a lot of like McKenna trying to hate her, but obviously he never could.
Yeah, he doesn't.
And it's a lot of Aline just being terrified of him knowing the truth. And so they're hiding things from each other. And like, you know, because McKenna doesn't want Aline to know how much she affects him. And then Aline doesn't want McKenna to know. Same thing, but also, you know, with her scars and with, you know, everything like that. So it's a lot of that towards the middle where you know, like they have these sex scenes, but like they're not communicating at all.
I know.
You know, and it's definitely a frustrating romance because of that. And I think that's part of the reason why Lisa Kleypas put this secondary romance.
Yes, the secondary romance was good, guys. I love that one. It just happened and I was rooting for it. I was like listening to the audiobook and I was like so excited when the characters came about. And then obviously when they started introducing the other Wallflowers and all the other heroes, kind of like incorporating them into this book too as well. It was pretty nice.
Yeah. Angsty romance is not my fave trope. I actually prefer the romance because the romance between Gideon and Livia, like it's got some angst for sure. Yeah. But it's just like kind of a dash,
Yeah.
you know, and I think she, as the author, knew that we needed a reprieve from how heavy Aline and McKenna's situation is. And it's just so interesting how this book works so well for me, because I don't think a lot of authors could pull off two romances in one story like she did. You know?
It's been a long time since I've seen in like two romances in a historical romance. It's been such a long time. I think like the last time I read one was like probably like maybe Julia Quinn or something.
Yeah. Not my favorite in the wall. Mine Till Midnight, Love in the Afternoon, Devil. I mean, those are fan favorites for sure. I mean, again, the magic is too, but those three that you're listing, yeah. I mean, those are fan favorites for a reason. Yeah, this, oh man, this story is, like I said, it absolutely can be frustrating. And then you get to the end and like, she finally tells him everything. And I love that he is so angry at first. He's like, that is the reason that we have been, you know, because her father died a long time ago. So that part of the conflict has been out of the equation.
Yeah.
So then he's like, that is why? Like, he's like, I have been in agony for like a decade because of this, you know, but at the same time, I understand. I think Aline has a lot of pride. And I think she also was raised in a way that, like, she says herself, like, her virginity was like her number one asset. And along with that is her body. She internalized that over the years. And so then over the years, she's like, oh, no. He could never love me because of my legs now.
Yeah.
And I love the scene when they finally have this confrontation and when McKenna's like, okay, but what if the roles were reversed?
Yeah.
Would you not love me? And she's like, of course not. And then he's like, when he says like, please don't doubt my love, that got me. I was like, oh, McKenna goes through it, girl. Like he's going through it in this book. And when he's just like so angry at her and he's just like, how could you think so little of my love? You know? And I love that Marcus is the one that gets Aline to finally like open her eyes and go after McKenna, you know? Because like throughout the whole story, both Marcus and Livia like would avert their eyes from her legs and like they didn't want to face what happened to her. And I love that scene at the end when they're talking and he's like, can I see them? Like, we need to talk about this, you know? And I just, man, I love Marcus. Like, it makes me want to reread It Happened One Autumn. I love him so much.
It Happened One Autumn. Oh my God, wait, hold on. No.
Yeah,
No.
That's
I know.
Marcus.
I'm trying to remember Marcus's story, and it's
That's
and
Marcus
Lily.
and Lillian.
Lillian. Yes. Okay, but I think Lisa Kleypas did this story well, and I understand why she drew it out and like made it super like back and forth. I think it was just because like they haven't seen each other in 12 years that she needed to convince us as readers that they were rekindling their like romance. They're getting to know each other, like this 12 years older version of themselves now. And like as an adult, so many life experiences has changed them. So she needed to convince us that these two people are liking and loving each other, not based on physical appearances. Because if it was like physical appearances, then he would be so disgusted and appalled by her legs. But they waited until like the last moment kind of thing to show off that, yes, she has this issue now, but he's still like deep in the trenches for her and still loves her. Just like 12 years ago when she was perfect, and even 12 years ago now when she's a little bit flawed. So right. I get it. And I think that's like the reason why it was like that. But again, like I don't really like slow burn romances, like when it keeps going back and forth, and I'm like in this predicament because I've read another slow burn romance like this too, where it keeps going back and forth, and yeah, but it's definitely this one's shorter than the other romance, so that's good.
Yeah, yeah. And like we said, like I think Gideon and Livia's romance is like the perfect icing on the cake with this story.
Yeah.
And I love that all four of these characters are having second chance romances in a sense, because like Alina McKenna, obviously it's their second chance, but also like with Gideon, we get his backstory that he was engaged to someone. He thought he loved this woman. He thought this woman loved him back, only for her to make a deal with his father. And she leaves him.
Yeah.
Right. And then Livia's tragic backstory of her fiance, and he passes away and she has this miscarriage. And so now
that was rough.
He's got like this scandalous reputation because it was clear that they were having sex before marriage.
Yeah.
And I love, and Gideon is so jaded. He's an alcoholic. And Livia is jaded in a sense. I think she, at the beginning of the book, is just kind of like, I had my love and that's it. You know, I think she thinks she's done, you know, and then Gideon comes along and I love the almost like youthful romance that they have. Like, I love that they bring that out in each other. Like, you can tell that they're both so excited by the other person, and like it comes out of nowhere.
Yep.
You know, and I love that she follows him to London. I love that. I loved that scene. And I also adored the discussions that they had about his alcoholism when she was saying, you can't do this for me. You can't quit drinking for me, because that never works. First of all, like there's, you know, he could easily relapse. If you do something like that for someone else, like it's not going to be permanent, and you could resent her, you know. And I love towards the end when he's like, okay, then let me take 6 months and let me get clean. And if I am, I'll come back and I'll find you. And then the very end, when he comes back, and I love this epilogue. It's like a perfect epilogue to me, because I can so vividly see him coming to the house. They see each other through the window.
Yeah.
And then she like thinks to herself, sorry, Aline, I'll get back to your letter. I got to go find my own happily ever after.
Yeah.
I adored that ending.
Yeah.
It's just
so good.
Yeah. The two romances, absolutely. They felt so well balanced. And I can't think of another book that has done that. That's balanced two romances truly just so well, you know. I'd have to think of, I know they exist, and I know I've read a ton of historicals.
The Tessa Dare novel that is in that series. Remember how he has to convert a servant into a high class, well-bred lady?
Yes, any Duchess will do.
There you go. One. We got one.
Also, I mean, this is a classic class difference.
Yep.
He's a seamstress. He's a duke. And then this is another class difference, because he's a self-made man. She's a lady of nobility. I'm about to reread this series for the Summer of Tessa Dare. That's why I have them here. But I feel like there's so many, and you got to give me a second to think of all of them.
But there's also like, I'm looking. I looked up the list on Goodreads to see like which ones I read. There's Dearest Rogue by Elizabeth Hoyt, and he
is a good one.
Yeah, he is a soldier, and then she is a lady of nobility, and then he is tasked to take care of her and to make sure that she's okay. Even though he himself has a bad leg. so he feels like less of a man, and then she herself, I think she's like she has poor vision
He's blind.
yeah, she's doing blind, and then they're both like kind of just helping each other out. It's so fucking cute.
Yeah. You know what is interesting though, is that I feel like most of the class difference romances that I've read, the heroine is the one who's not of nobility. Like I am struggling a little bit to think of romances where the heroine is of nobility and the hero. Usually it's that the hero's a self-made man, so think like Marrying Winterborn, something like that. But I'm trying to think of like historicals where like McKenna. Well, McKenna ends up being self-made too, but like, you know, him being a stable boy at the beginning.
So we want girls of nobility, or we want girls of non-nobility? Like,
I feel like it's more common to see heroes of the aristocracy.
Okay, but we just listed examples where the heroine is not nobility.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like it's more common to see where like the heroes are of the aristocracy, the heroines are not. But I can't think of as many where the heroine is of nobility and the hero is not.
This reminds me of an Instagram live that I think it was between Jessica from Peace Love Books XO and Kerrigan Byrne. Is that how you say her name? And where she basically explained that the reason why we write a lot about dukes is because the dukes are like the wealthiest class of people. They're the billionaires. And then like female readers want to read books where we got like the top dog, the most richest people, and so it's more, I think it's alluring and attractive for readers to read about wealthy men rather than and then being in the shoes of a normal person, which quite frankly all of us are. Like, we're all normal and we're not like famous and celebrities and things like that.
Yes, Gideon and Olivia. Yep, Governess Game. Tessa Dare writes a lot of class difference romances for sure. Beating the Blacksmith, that's a good example because Diana is of nobility, Aaron is a blacksmith, and then you're right, Justin, he's a carpenter, and isn't she of nobility? I think she
is, and she's writing a dictionary.
Oh yes,
and he builds her bookshelves, and I'm like,
right. Yeah, that's good.
There's also another book. Let me go find it that I just remembered. It's by Maya Rodell, and it's called. Let me look for it. It's where he is a fighter, like he's a boxer, and like the boxing rings, and he wins matches for money. And then she is like a nobility person. Lady Claire is all that. She is really smart. She's brainy, and he's the brawn, and he thinks that he's too stupid for her, but he still loves her so much. So cute.
Yeah, a lot of the self-made men, that's also another version. It's basically billionaire romances. Any of like these self-made men, they're millionaires. Like they're super rich, right? So Marrying Winterborn, Chasing Cassandra, those are all like great examples of that. Also, this is so random, but can I just say, like, what is with Lisa Kleypas and fires?
Oh, yeah.
So many of her books have a devastating fire. And, like, can we stop? Like, oh, my God, she writes so many fires into her books.
But have you noticed this whole entire series? There's, like, one scene where it's just the hero is jealous. And I fucking love it. Like, I crave that shit.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Each and every Wallflower book had one pivotal moment where the hero is just fucking, like, growling across the room. He's just like, why are you talking to my woman? Or why are you flirting with him? But it's not, like, toxic jealousy. It's
right.
Confused, miscommunication.
Yeah, because, like, Aline has her friend, Sandridge.
Yes.
And McKenna obviously doesn't know what's really going on there. And so, of course, he's insanely jealous.
She plays into it. She's
like, she does.
Not your problem. Like, I'm not yours. I can do whatever I please.
Yep. Is there anything else we want to? I mean, there's so much about this book, but I feel like we've summed up a lot of. So I brought up how much I love Marcus. in this book, and I truly do. And I really do want to reread It Happened One Autumn really soon. But I love Mrs. Faircloth, their housekeeper. Like, she's basically Alina McKenna's mom, and it's like the sweetest thing ever. Like,
she's like, "Are you surprised that I hooked up with him?" And then Miss Faircloth, or whatever her name is, goes like, "No,
no,
no."
He knows exactly what's going on between the two of them.
Yeah,
and you can tell she's like so over the bullshit, but also she loves them so much.
And she can't do anything. You keep mentioning Marcus and Lillian, and then I just wanted to say that I finished reading A Wallflower Christmas. And there was, did you read A Wallflower Christmas?
I loved it.
And that Marcus and Lillian subplot where Lillian thought that he was cheating on her. And she was just like, "Can you please do it discreetly?" And she's like crying. And then he's like, "Oh my God, you crazy woman. Let me show you what I've been working on this entire time with this girl. It's for you. Like, and you have to be so like crazy about it." And
also, like, nothing gets me more than heroes that are like, "Oh, I'll never fall in love, blah, blah, blah." Because Marcus goes on about that in this book, right?
Yeah.
And then in his book, he just can't help but fall so hard for Lillian. And I love that subplot in that novella, because it's like, first of all, can you not see how gone for you this man is? Like, he loves you.
But like, it hurt me so bad that she doubted him, because it felt so real. And I was like, oh my God, I know Marcus isn't doing something, but I felt so bad for Lillian when she was like thinking about this. So I read that.
Meaning of You has a big fire too. I can't with these books and the fires. Like, geez.
I guess it was just really common back in the day, since it's just candlelight.
Well,
and hay and wood,
I mean, it's
everywhere.
Real, because I mean, absolutely. Back also, you have to think about like London in particular. All of these buildings are so close together, and obviously back then they didn't have the resources or the technology that we have today in terms of controlling fires. And so absolutely, it would spread so easily. So it's absolutely believable. Maybe. I haven't read that book. I haven't gotten to it yet. That's the last book of the Ravenels.
Maybe. I read it a long time ago. I forgot, but yeah. I'll be curious to go back and read the Ravenel series to see if I like it more now that I finished reading Wallflowers.
I think you should, because you'll have more of a connection now. But yes, you do need to read Marrying Winterborn for sure. With that book, I will say you really should read Cold Hearted Rake first, because their romance starts in Cold Hearted Rake, and then it just continues on through Marrying Winterborn. So, because I made that mistake, I was gonna just read Marrying Winterborn, and then I'm like 20% through, and I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something. Like, I missed the beginning of their relationship, and I did, because in Cold Hearted Rake is when they meet and their relationship starts, and then something happens where they break up at the end of Cold Hearted Rake. And then the beginning of Marrying Winterborn, Winterborn basically confronts Helen, and then they get back together. So it's interesting. That book is interesting, because it's kind of like you're plopped right into the middle of their romance, but it's an amazing book.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Have you read The Hathaways?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I have read The Hathaways.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not like, for me, there are certain Lisa Kleypas books that I love a lot, but it's not like overall I love the whole series. Does that make sense? Like, there's always going to be some books in her series that I'm just like, whatever, I don't really care. But when I do like the book, I like the book, and like I'll die for the book. So it's either like a real big hit, or it's just like a mediocre miss kind of thing.
Well, it's funny, because when I first started reading Lisa Kleypas, I started with Secrets of a Summer Night.
Mm-hmm.
So I skipped this. This is technically like a prequel to Wallflowers, right? So I read the Wallflower series. That series to me is kind of hit or miss, kind of. It's really that I didn't love Secrets of a Summer Night. Like I gave it 3 stars.
Yeah.
And then the other 3 books I gave like 4 stars. Like it wasn't until I started reading her, like I think I read this. This was my first 5-star read from her. And then I read Then Came You and Dreaming of You. So that little duet. And it's interesting because Dreaming of You is like the fan favorite, Lisa Kleypas, and I gave it like 3 stars. I did not love that book. But I loved Then Came You, which is book 1 of that duet. But yeah, so my reading journey with Lisa Kleypas is a little bit weird because I feel like a lot of people pick up one book by her and they're just like immediately obsessed. But with me, I was like, I'm not really seeing like the hype, but I just kind of had to find the right series with her because I love the Hathaways series.
Yeah.
I love those books, and I've really enjoyed the Ravenels so far as well.
Yeah. Dreaming of You, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars too.
Yeah, that book was slow.
Yeah.
To me.
I feel like I just go the opposite direction sometimes for Lisa Kleypas against my friends.
Yeah.
Like Samantha likes like the books that I gave 3 out of 5 stars for. I think we just have different tastes in what we're looking for in Lisa Kleypas, but still good.
Yeah. No, there hasn't been anything on, like, she hasn't posted anything on social media or on her website since Devil in Disguise came out. So as far as I know, I'm assuming that series is now done, the Ravenels. I'm assuming. I don't know for sure. But yeah, she has not announced anything. So we don't know.
I heard that she got like a lot of like hate for how she was depicting, like a certain group of people in her books back in the day. And then so she's kind of like taking a step back from historical romance and focusing on other genres.
Oh, really?
That's what I heard from my friends.
Only thing I can think of, and they fixed this in later editions, was how just some of the words that they used for Romani people in the Hathaway series. However, what I will say is that, like I said, they edited out, they took out those terms, but I think Lisa Kleypas was just trying to be historically accurate. And so she used terms that they used back then, but
now it's
a modern audience. So it's a balance. It's a balance for sure. And I heard that they edited Secrets of a Summer Night and It Happened One Autumn.
Yeah.
Recently. And I've heard that like the edits made the books worse. Like, I know in It Happened One Autumn, they took out a scene where Lillian gets tipsy off of eating fermented fruit, and then her and Marcus hook up. They took that scene out because they thought it was problematic that she was tipsy. But like, I was like, girl, I just don't see it. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. And then apparently with Secrets of a Summer Night, they took out a couple of scenes that I feel like really makes that hero shine. So I don't know why they did that. Also, Mine Till Midnight is weirdly edited too, because if you listen to the audiobook cut out like a whole sex scene for like no good reason, because there's nothing wrong with the scene. I don't know why they took it out. And then they also like, I could have sworn, because what I usually do is I listen to the audiobook and I follow along with the physical version. And I could have sworn they took out like almost whole chapters. I don't know. Like it was a lot. It was like edited a lot. And I understand for like the Romani terms and stuff like that. But then there were other things that they took out that I was like, wait, I feel like this almost changes the plot. I was like, like, what is going on here? So I don't know what Avon is doing editing these books. But I would recommend just reading the original versions if you can find them. I'm sure you can go on eBay or whatever. But yeah, it's just weird. I'm like, what? Because they even like released new like edited audiobooks of Secrets of a Summer Night and It Happened One Autumn. So that's very weird to me.
Yep.
But I like that Lisa Kleypas writes in the friction between the new rich and the old nobility. I agree, because she writes in an interesting era, because most historicals are in the Regency era, but this, like, her whole like universe starts in like the 1830s with this series, and then we go all the way through to, I believe, the Ravenels takes place in like the 1860s, 1870s, something like that. And so her books, she does talk about all of that a lot, and I do think that's interesting that how that was highlighted in this book, because we have like Gideon and like his family coming to stay with Marcus, who is obviously of like old nobility. Yeah, I like that too. World building context. Absolutely. I think that's also why I would recommend a book like this for historical romance beginners, because she does put a lot of context into her books that I really appreciate. That one is, I haven't read it yet, but that one, the hero is like a railroad tycoon or something. But that's like, I think book 6 of the series. I haven't gotten to it yet. I think I have a couple more books to go.
How do you have like the best memory? How do you even remember what book number it is? Jeez.
I don't know. I'm weird like that.
It's book 6. Okay, so this one I gave a 4 out of 5 stars, and I read this back in 2021. Apparently, I really like the main character because he's very sweet, and he doesn't believe in love, but he loves Cassandra a lot, and he always does so much for her and making sure that she feels loved. Apparently, that's my review. I don't even remember the book anymore.
I think she's plus sized. I think she's a curvy heroine, even though the cover doesn't show it, of course. But I do vaguely remember that when people have talked about it. But I've really enjoyed that series as a whole so far. I've read up to Hello Stranger. That's the one with like the pink cover.
I did not read Hello Stranger. I could not deal with it.
I did not love it. I'll be real. I liked the characters, but the plot I was not here for.
Yeah, I was not. I had to stop it. Yeah. I DNF'd that one.
I don't blame you. That's just a weird. It's just a weird story, because the hero and the heroine, they're kind of separated for like a good like 25% of the book, and it's just odd, the pacing of it. But yeah. I'm very excited to read Devil's Daughter, which is the yellow one. That's the next book I have to read, because I've heard, I love West Ravenel, and so he's the hero of that one. And then I think, the heroine is Evie and Sebastian's daughter. So I'm excited for that one.
I read some like wacky books from Lisa Kleypas too. I think Midnight Angel's wacky one.
Her older books are crazy from what I've heard.
They have like magic and like fantasy elements in it, and it's just wild. Like I think like Prince of Dreams.
Did you read that one?
No, I didn't mark it as read, but apparently,
because I've heard that book is bonkers.
Yeah,
bonkers. I heard that like apparently the hero is an ass to the heroine. He ends up like traveling back in time and having a romance with the heroine's ancestor.
Yeah.
Very strange. Just very weird. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm like trying to like figure out like why I didn't like Midnight Angel. I think the pacing was just off, because I said like 50% in the book they're already desperately in love.
Oh,
and I was just like, what? Yeah.
And there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go from there, right? Yeah. I don't know if we have anything more to say about Again, the magic. Oh, what star rating did you give it?
Maybe a 3 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it deserves a 2.5. I think it's a solid novel. 3 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, based on what you said about like the pacing and stuff,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And also, like, the book that I'm reading right now is like a contemporary novel by Lauren Asher called Final Offer. It's literally the same thing. He's addicted to alcohol, so he's alcoholic. He's an alcoholic, and this is a second chance romance, and they separate for 6 years, and he comes back into her life, and he's still an alcoholic, and he abuses like substances. And so like it's and look how thick this fucking book is. It's like 570 pages. And it's just back and forth, like Again the Magic. And I'm doing like a back-to-back read of these two books, and it's killing me, man. It's killing me. I'm dying inside.
Yeah. Isn't that so funny, like how many pages that book is, yet Lisa Kleypas gave us 2 romances?
That's what I said. That's why I was like, oh, at least Lisa Kleypas did it well. Like that she condensed it all. She only kept things that moved the plot. But I'm enjoying Final Offer. It's just that it's just not moving. Like, why is it not moving?
Have you read the rest of that series?
Yes, I read.
What did you think of the other books?
Well, I'm going to do a video about it, but the fine print was a reread because the fine print took so long. It was like, the first time I read it, it was like stop and go. Because the writing, I just could not get over of how atrocious it was. I'm so sorry, Lauren, if you're watching this, you're not. But like the fine print was just so bad. And I think I just have like a major gripe with like how people talk to their bosses for office romances. Like you cannot be this sassy in the workplace. You cannot.
I mean, you're right. Yeah.
You just cannot. You will quickly get fired. So I could not stand her. But Terms and Conditions was like a favorite of Lacey's. So I had high hopes going to Terms and Conditions. And I must say, I do really enjoy that one out of the fine print. And then Final Offer took long to get into because same plot line as Again the Magic with the back and forth. But I'm enjoying it. I am.
Do I have a favorite quote? I'm going to look and see what I highlighted. Let's see. I highlighted a lot. All right, I gotta look through here. Okay. Let's see. I mean, McKenna has a lot of monologues, not like super long monologues, but like he's got. I highlighted a lot of stuff that he says.
I feel like the heroes get a lot of good lines.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, this is like the very end when they've finally, Alina McKenna have finally like gotten together for real, and they just made love. And she's exhausted because remember she like has just come to London all the way from Stony Cross, and so she tells him you need to sleep too, and then he says no, not when staying awake is better than anything I could find in a dream. McKenna, he's so sweet.
People like this, characters like this make dating so hard in real life. Like it just my expectations and bar for my romance is so high.
I know.
And, so hard.
Yeah, this is one of those gut punching moments for sure. This one when she says, McKenna, I never dared to dream about this. And he says, I did. For thousands of nights, I dreamed of making love to you. No man on earth has ever hated sunrise as much as I do. Yeah, he says a lot in this scene in particular. He's got a lot of really great lines.
He had 1,000 nights to think about these lines.
Yes. Yes. Oh, this one. He says, I want you for no reason at all other than the fact that you're you. I want morning and noon and nightfall with you. I want your tears, your smiles, your kisses, the smell of your hair, the taste of your skin, the touch of your breath on my face. I want to see you in the final hour of my life, to lie in your arms as I take my last breath. Like, come on, Lisa Kleypas. Jeez.
Like, what am I supposed to walk away with that with?
Right?
Like what the fuck? Like,
That, I remember when I was rereading this last night, that line, I literally put my book down and I just like am crying into my hands. Oh man, that's such a great line. Ugh. Also, this line that Aline says, let's see. She said, Mrs. Faircloth read the letter to me. Because remember, Mrs. Faircloth started writing letters to McKenna after McKenna left, when they were kids, basically. And she said, Mrs. Faircloth read the letter to me, and hearing the words you had written made me realize that as long as there was a chance that you were in this world, I wanted to go on living in it. Because she's talking about when she was like in agony for like months after the fire. And she didn't, like, she was just in so much pain, like she kind of didn't want to go on anymore. But then she read the letter and like, oh man, ugh. These two, I can't. I feel like there's some really great lines between like Gideon and Livia too. I just haven't gotten to them, but let's see. I also love the moment when she's talking to Marcus and Aline says, I hate these scars. I'll never stop wishing that I didn't have them. And there's nothing I can do to change them. If you're trying to draw a parallel, Marcus, it won't do any good. McKenna's origins have never mattered to me. There's nothing that would make me stop loving him or wanting him. She stopped abruptly as she understood the point he had been leading to. Like, oh, man. Lisa Kleypas, you know how to write some good quotes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the Wolfire series is all good quotes.
I love this when Aline's talking to Sandridge. And she says, one of the things I adore most about you is that you never try to advise me on what to do. And he says, I despise advice. It never works. I liked his character. I loved that, like, she had a friend that wasn't a sibling. Like, she had someone that she could be close with.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the scene when Livia and Gideon are they're about to take their break. And she says, I've been adrift for so long, ever since Amberly's death, and now I'm finally ready to start living again. You came along just at the time I needed you, and for that I will always remember you with fondness and gratitude. Fondness, he repeated, his mouth twisting. Gratitude? And she says, I'm not going to admit that I feel anything more than that. It would be a form of coercion. And she's right. Like, because she doesn't want to guilt him into just stopping drinking and then it not lasting or him resenting her or, anything like that. Good stuff. Good stuff, Lisa Kleypas.
I think she's really good at writing, like, the lines that stick with you and that
make you cry
in the middle of the night when you're reading the book.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I highlighted so many things in this, but I've never read that book. Have you read it?
I think I did. Do any of them remind me of it? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to make the correlation.
I mean, yeah, I just haven't read it. I like vaguely know what it's about, but yeah. Oh, yay! I'm glad you loved it so much. It's one of my top favorites as well. I think I'm gonna make a video at some point, maybe in the next few months, about like my top favorite historical romances, because I really kind of want to start nailing down like what are my absolute favorite books and why. You know, so I'm excited to like kind of narrow down my like favorite historical romances, because historical romances are my favorite genre, my favorite subgenre to read. So I mean, this will definitely be on there. But yeah, it's fun for me to like kind of analyze, okay, why do I love this book so much? What does it give me that other books maybe don't? Um, but yeah, with this one, it's interesting because you said earlier in the live show about like how with historicals, or maybe with any book in general, the way a book starts like really affects how you enjoy the rest of it. And for me personally, it's interesting the way this book starts. And I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. I like immediately felt how desperately these two loved each other within like the first chapter or two, which is like crazy. Because how can you establish that so well with so few pages, you know? But you can really feel that these two have spent most of their lives together, because he came to Stony Cross when they were like 8 or something, you know, and they've been friends since then, and then it's turned into something else. And I personally just like love how this book starts, because it's like he comes into her room and she didn't go meet him by the river, and it's because she saw him kissing another girl or like talking to another girl or something, and then it just like comes out how they feel about each other. And like you just immediately feel like the angst and the love. And yeah, like that is not easy to establish so quickly, you know, but I feel like she did a wonderful job with that. It's the swoon factor. She creates these sweepingly romantic scenes. And yes, that first chapter or two was so intense. Yeah, you're right. And again, that's not easy to write, you know. Any of us who read a ton of romance novels, like you can tell the difference between ones that have this like sweeping, almost like epic romantic feel to them versus ones that just kind of feel ordinary, right?
Yes.
And for me, like I feel like this title is so accurate, because I couldn't help but feel almost a type of magic going on in the story. And I can't explain to you what it was. It was just a feeling that I got from the two romances and just like from the writing, you know. Starting off as a stable boy. Oh, okay. And I'm gonna assume that's a very angsty story as well. But yeah, I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
With this book.
I don't think we have a pick for next month yet.
No, we don't.
We'll think about it.
Yeah, I
lined up.
Usually I kind of have an idea, and I really don't right now. I don't know.
Yeah, what are we feeling, guys? What are we feeling?
Yeah. If anybody has suggestions, please leave them in the comments. If there's like an author that you want us to look at, or you know who I haven't read in a really long time is Beverly Jenkins.
I was just gonna mention that. Should we read a Beverly Jenkins? I read one recently by her and I kind of liked it.
Ooh, what did you read?
It's like Destiny something. I don't know if it's Destiny's Embrace, Destiny's Captive, Destiny something. I gotta go check.
I love that series. I love the Destiny trilogy.
I read Destiny Surrender.
Ooh, what did you think of it?
I think I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Like I really liked our hero.
You should read you should read Destiny's Embrace. That's book 1 of that series.
Yes.
That one's a really great kind of hate to love. It's the heroine is the hero's housekeeper for a little bit, and then they start falling for each other. And yeah, that's a fantastic book.
I read this book called The Wolf and the Wildflower by Stacey Reed, and it's her indie published romance, and it's so freaking good. He gets
I need to read that one.
Yeah, he gets lost at sea, lives on an island like Tarzan for like however many years. Somebody finally rescues him, brings him back to polite society for him to look so weird because he's not wearing shoes or proper clothes. And then our heroine's disguised as a boy, trying to bring him back into society. And our heroine's like super smart, but she needs to be a boy because it's like this whole secret.
Let me look through the Beverly Jenkins like audiobooks that are readily available to me. Let's see. Because like Hoopla has a lot for audio.
I don't think I have that much with my library, but it's okay.
Let me look up it could be, these could be available through the library. Let's see. There's one called Midnight that I've been really interested in because from what I can remember, I need to look at the synopsis again. Let's see. And I think they just recently released an audiobook for this, but this book's been out for a while. Oh, right. This is taking place in Boston during the American Revolution. And the heroine is a spy known as Lady Midnight, passing valuable secrets to the rebels. Dedicated to fighting British tyranny, she'll let nothing distract her until a dark, mesmerizing stranger enters her life. And then Nicholas is the hero. He's returned to Massachusetts, seeking revenge for the death of his rebel father. He suspects a local innkeeper, but it's the man's breathtaking daughter who has truly captured his interest. Nicholas burns for the secretive lady, blah, blah, blah. But when destiny unites their causes, the passion that draws Midnight into Nicholas's arms is as dangerous as it is glorious.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds really good. I'll show you the cover.
No, I'm looking at it right now on Goodreads.
Yeah. Because I bought a physical copy of this like a few years ago, and then they recently released an audiobook for it.
All right.
So that one sounds really good. I haven't heard people talk about this one.
It sounded so familiar. I think it just got mixed with like an Alyssa Cole novel that I read.
Here's the cover for any of you guys that want to see it. It's called Midnight by Beverly Jenkins. It's also just very interesting to me. Like, have I read historicals that take place during the Revolution? I don't know.
I'm saying like this sounds very familiar to. I don't know American history, but like the Alyssa Cole novel, An Extraordinary Union, takes place during the Civil War, and they're both spies.
What book is that again?
An Extraordinary Union.
Oh, that's a good one. I really liked that one. Yeah, that was a good one.
I never
definitely would recommend that series to you guys.
You finished it?
Really good. I've only read book one, but it was.
Yeah,
really
I like
good.
book one too. That one's good.
Any other like Beverly Jenkins that you can think of?
Nighthawk.
I've heard good things about that one. I have that one too. I have a physical copy of that one. They have some of her like old school books.
Yeah, didn't like I think like Jess read Nighthawk for like a book club too.
I think so.
Sounded familiar.
I've heard good things about, of course, like Indigo is her classic. I read that one.
Should we just read? Yeah.
I've heard good things about, there's this kind of like old school one called Wild Sweet Love.
I think I read that one.
And then I've also heard good things about, let's see, A Chance at Love.
Okay, I don't have
like an old school one as well. if y'all have any play, a lot of her stuff is on there. I think like almost everything. Yeah, and if you guys have Hoopla, a lot of her audios are on there.
Let me look at Hoopla.
I love Then Came You. I'm actually thinking of rereading that one soon. It's a good one. Have you read that one, Lisa?
1 second, as I try to read. Then Came You. Lisa Clayface. It looks familiar. Looks like I read it. 1 second. Yeah, I read it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I liked it better than the second book.
Yeah, I didn't love Dreaming of You, but Then Came You. I loved that book. Loved it. Yeah, I might reread that one soon.
Should we just
There's
read?
Also, what was that? What?
Nothing. Wait, what's your also?
Oh, I forgot that she recently came out with a book.
Beverly Jenkins?
Yeah, it's called To Catch a Raven.
Oh. You want to read that?
Let's see.
Because I have that available, I think.
This is a part of her Women Who Dare series. Did you ever read Wild Rain is in that series too. Not that you have to read the series in order necessarily. Let's see what this one's about. Okay. A former Confederate official is suspected of stealing the Declaration of Independence, and Raven, posing as his housekeeper, is tasked with getting it back. Her partner is the too handsome Braxton Steele. Masquerading as a valet, Brax is also supposed to be her quote-unquote husband. He has his own reasons for doing this job, but when their pretend marriage ignites into fiery passion, they'll have to put everything, including their hearts, on the line. That sounds good. I want to see what people have said about this one. Let's see. To Catch a Raven. I'm definitely interested in reading either Nighthawk or Midnight as well, if you're interested in either of those.
Yeah. Nighthawk I have.
Okay.
You want to go for Nighthawk?
Fiercely. I'm just looking at reviews of To Catch a Raven. This is her most recent release. Let me look up reviews for Nighthawk real quick. I know I have it, but let's see. This is the cover if you guys are curious. A beautiful man with his abs. There you go.
I saw that and I was like,
It's got pretty good ratings at 4.36.
Okay, you want to go for it?
Might as well. So I'll read the synopsis to you guys. Outlaw preacher Nighthawk. He's had many names, but he can't escape the past. Since Ian Vance's beloved wife was murdered years ago, the hardened bounty hunter knows he'll never feel love or tenderness again.
No.
He's made it his mission, of course. He's made it his mission to ensure others get their justice. But when he's charged with delivering a sharp-eyed beauty to the law, Ian can't help but feel he may still have something left to lose. Orphaned at 12, Maggie Freeman has always found her way out of trouble, but now there's a vigilante mob at her back who would like nothing more than to see her hang for a crime she didn't commit. Maggie may have to accept help for the first time in her life, even if it's from the one man standing between her and freedom. As the past closes in, the sassy prisoner and toughened lawman may just find a passion between them that could bring blinding happiness if they'll let it. That sounds really good.
Should we read Nighthawk? It sounds forbidden. It sounds angsty.
Yeah, I like the vibe is just so different from anything else we've read for.
Let's just do it. Let's just do Nighthawk. Let's just do Nighthawk.
Here's our book for next month.
Yeah, you saw it live in action of our decision making, guys.
Yeah. Us just going back and forth.
Yeah. And also, next month, I'm super busy. So let's put this meeting on the... Are you good for 26th or 27th?
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. We can talk like a specific day and time off of this, but yep. I'm pretty sure I just have to think about it for a second, but I'm pretty sure yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be our pick for next month. Very excited to read another Beverly Jenkins. I haven't read one of her books in like 2 years, I think. So I'm very, very excited. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us for our discussion of Again the Magic. You guys always leave really great comments, and I love discussing books with Lisa. So we're having a fun time.
Same.
So yeah, I hope that everybody has a great rest of your night, a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.